Hey, what's up, guys? It's Chris Pereira from New Jersey Multi-Species Podcast. We have a little bit of technical difficulties this week. We weren't able to get any video from our recording. So we have Eddie from Toggy Jigs as a guest. We have Jason Uhas, the beaver attack victim. We were able to salvage the audio. So unfortunately, this episode is going to be just audio. We apologize for the inconvenience. And we believe the technical difficulties are actually Deuce's excessive porn download collection, but he won't admit it. So we're going to go with it. Enjoy the episode. We'll be back next week with the video and audio like we always do. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to episode number 80 of the NJ Multi-Species Podcast. I am your host, Joe Santiago. As always, my partner, Chris Pereira. I am losing my voice for some reason. I don't know why. Tonight's guest, Eddie from Toggy Jigs. We've been trying to get him on for a long time. Chris, I know you had a funny story with Yellow Dog Paddle that you wanted to tell and make fun of me about, if you want to get into that.
I swear this is the actual story. It is not exaggerated to make fun of you. This is the story, right?
What's that?
You mentioned, I think I shared his story a week or two ago. I guess 2 weeks at this point. He was at Home Depot and he was buying fence pieces, and he's trying to fit them in the back of his truck, and this guy out of nowhere, Mike is wearing one of the Suffer for the Fish shirts. And all of a sudden he hears some guy come up from behind him. And I forgot to get the guy's name, but all of a sudden, hey, dude, you know those guys? The Suffer for the Fish? You know those? And he turns around. He's like,
know
what?
Those?
We're the Suffer for the Fish guys. He's like, yeah, I know. Yeah, the podcast guys, right? He's like, yeah. He's like,
Mike was probably trying to pretend he didn't know us. He was like, no, I don't know those guys.
Yeah, I asked him. I said, were you embarrassed? He's like, no. I'm like, yeah, you are. And he says, oh yeah. So this guy is talking to him, trying to talk to him about Mike's trying to fit these last fence pieces into his truck, right? Like they're not fitting, and he wants to go home and get this fence done. So he's like, the guy keeps asking him. And he's like, hey, bro, you mind giving me a hand here since you're talking, you're sticking around? Oh, yeah. So the guy starts helping him, right? So he's helping him, but the guy keeps talking about, I guess, different episodes or whatever that he saw. And he's like, so then the guy goes, hey, you know these guys like personally? He's like, yeah, I know. Like we work together and stuff. He's like, oh, yeah? He's like, what's up with that guy, Joe? And he's like, so Mike's telling me this on the boat while we're fishing, and I just started laughing because I don't know what the hell is going to come out of the guy's mouth next, but I'm already laughing. And so Mike's, probably smirking. He's like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? What's up with Joe? What? He's like, yeah, his voice so nasally.
Have only one. I'm sorry.
Don't underplay it. Don't underplay it.
I'm not going to underplay it.
The exclusive interview with the man who got savage beaver and survived.
Only 14 beaver attacks per year in the United States, and this is one of them we have here on the NJ Multi-Species Podcast, Mr. Jason Uhas.
What's up, Jason?
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
You're all good.
We can hear you. We're glad to see you're safe, Jason.
Thank you very much.
I saw your picture that you returned to the scene of the incident to make sure you had no PTSD with it.
Yes, I did that. PTSD.
You do. Can we just run back here? Where did this start? A lot of people are accusing you of provoking the beaver, possibly climbing on the beaver dam or doing something you shouldn't have been doing. What happened here?
I was actually trying to ride the beaver. No. Let me recap. I went down
Clip that, Deuce. Nothing else he says matters. That's what we're using.
riding the beaver. End of story. So I went down to the fishing hole that I normally go to on 523. It's known as the Lipton Tea Factory on the South Branch. A million people have fished it before. So I see a beaver cross the stream downstream. So I didn't think too much crossing over onto my side, and then I never saw it again. I had heard in the past that beavers can be aggressive. It is dusk, it's getting dark, so I don't see the beaver again. So I'm fishing for a while, don't hear nothing, don't see nothing. I look to my left, I see a trout jump. So if I see a trout jump, what am I going to do? I'm going to cast to it. As I cast to it, I feel a little bump on my leg. I bumped into snapping turtles, snakes, all types of things in the water. I'm thinking so I just gently brush it with my hand. It gave me a little tug because sometimes I've had turtles like tug on the waders. So I just kind of just pushed it off. And then the next thing I know, it came from underwater. It launched into my leg and just clamped down on it. So now I'm like, I couldn't believe it. So I'm taking my hands and I'm trying to get it off of me. And I take it, I open its jaws, and it bites onto my thumb. Then it goes back onto my leg. And every time I get it off my leg, it closes it can on my leg again.
And it's ripping the waders when it's doing this?
Well, I got waders on, jeans, and long underwear. So it's clamping down. I can't tell whether it's getting through the waders. I can't tell what type of damage there is. I just know this thing is clamping down hard on my leg. Of course, I'm heading towards the shoreline. Every time I get it off, it clamps back on again. Now we're wrestling. I trip over a rock. I fall in the water. My pole falls down. The thing's still on my leg. And I'm like, I'm not leaving my fishing pole. So I grab my fishing pole. It's still on my leg. So I get near the shoreline. I get it off of me for a moment. I said, I got to hit this thing with my net. I have a big net because I like to believe I can catch 20-inch trout. So I have this big net that can net 20-inch trout. So I'm like, I got to whack it on the head. So I whack it, nice and hard twice. I didn't really want to kill it. And it stopped for a minute and decided to come at me again. And I said, there's no way, man. It's you or me, buddy. I am going to whack you with everything I got. I started hammering him, and he looked like a punch-drunk boxer. And he fell backwards in the water and swam off sideways. So I walk up the bank. I got searing pain in my leg, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I call 911. First, I was sitting on the gate of my I have a Subaru now. The Mercedes is gone, so I'm sitting on the gate of the Subaru, and I'm like, you know what? I could pass out or something. So I put a piece of cardboard on the ground. I sat against the tire. I was waiting for 911. I didn't see any dam nearby, but I had heard from Fish and Wildlife that they can make their home in like a riverbank undercut tree, and that's exactly what that spot is. So I ended up with puncture wound in my thumb, puncture wound in both thighs, and way worse, except I had all those layers on. And I have to go through the rabies protocol. I got a tetanus shot. I'm on antibiotics. It's just a mess.
And the rabies is that's like a lot of shots that hurt, isn't it?
Yeah. So I had to get 4 shots right away. The shots go into the wound. So of course the bite mark is a 1/2 to 3/4 inch deep because they got big teeth. So he sticks it into the wound, 3/4 inch deep, sticks the needle into the wound. I went cross-eyed. So he did both, in my arm. And then I was on because one of my patients said they heard me on the radio. So I called them up. I did an interview with them on Friday. And I got a shot, as I said, in my rear quarters. So the DJ goes, right. I said, yeah, in the buttocks. So
wait a second. So this interview, you already did one with 101.5?
I guess so. This is
yeah, we got sloppy seconds.
Sloppy seconds. They're not a podcast, though. That's radio. We're
What host?
exclusive.
What did you call?
Was it Bill Spadia?
It was a guy at the 5 and 5:30 something and more McKinsky, or I don't know.
Oh, Dominski. Yeah, Dominski and more. All right.
So now you posted that post about you're the one of the 14 victims of a beaver attack. I gotta ask how you found that statistic. Did they alert you?
I'm not sure if it's 100% accurate, but my friend Dan, who's very analytical, said he looked it up. 14. I've heard less than a dozen. So
I've heard all kinds of shit before. I've never heard of this. I mean, I now I've seen one other YouTube video of it, but this seems so rare. Did they go check the area for the animal to try to find it?
This is what I think is kind of sad. The police officer looked around. I couldn't get a hold of my wife, so she was looking for me, and she has this Life 360. I'm literally tracked by my wife everywhere I go. That's how it goes. So I figured it's good if I ever fall down in the stream or get attacked by a beaver. So she goes to where the Life 360 is. So she goes to the Lipton Tea Factory, Jay, and the police officer comes up with a flashlight. They were looking for the beaver. The health department called me once. Fish and Wildlife took down wanted my fishing license number, and I told the EMTs they probably not having a fishing license. No follow-ups. Nobody ever looked for it. When I stopped there Saturday, there's people fishing there like it's honky dory. And I've heard since then, I don't know if they're going to contact me, that they have been attacked. And that one guy said it bit his heel, and then another person said their dog got bit. So, but they're doing nothing about it.
I mean, this beaver sounds like a freaking menace.
Menace beaver.
I got to be honest, dude. Like if I didn't know you at all and I saw that post, I would have thought it was a joke. Then if I didn't think it was a joke, I would have I just would have wanted to make fun of you because you're like a beaver. What? Just step on it. But
well, just for the record, I do just want to say for the record, for people watching this show that have never seen a beaver in the wild, beavers are huge. I mean,
they can be huge.
Giant. They could be up to 40 pounds. I mean, they're big animals. They also have humongous teeth. They are big as guinea pig.
I saw one at a little bit of a distance once, and I swear it was the size of a bear cub. It was huge.
It looks like a baby bear cub.
I saw one in Vermont that was really big when I was fishing the streams in Vermont. This one was medium size. I'd say 30 pounds. But the thing is, it was like an underwater attack. I know what you're saying. If it was running at me, I could just whack it or something.
That's the part that's got me now, because when I first heard this, I'm like, can they bite you underwater? Wouldn't they suck in the water and drown? And I'm like, nah, I guess I could bite something underwater without sucking the water in. I guess they can too. That's actually. And
well, my understanding is beavers can stay underwater for 15, 20 minutes. My friend Paul told me. He's like a birder and a wildlife guy and stuff. And he said they could stay underwater for 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I just didn't think because they're not a predator, right? So obviously an underwater predator can open its mouth and bite things underwater because it has to. A beaver doesn't have to attack things underwater. So it was weird to me. I've never heard of this before.
There's got to be something right there that beaver's guarding.
Oh yeah.
But this Jason is like a magnet for this kind of weird shit. It only happens to him. So I expect this.
At the beginning of my life, I was no way thinking that at some point in my life I will be fending off a wild beaver. It just never had thought in my thought process.
I'm visually imagining you exiting the water with a beaver attached to you, and then with it. This is unbelievable.
No, I fell over in the water. By the bank, he was off, and then I was beating him senseless because nobody.
Dude.
I was the only person in that fishing spot.
Imagine okay, bites his leg. He's, what the hell's happening? He's just like he said, then he trips like he said. What if the thing swims up, bites his jugular, kills him?
We got to Google that.
Death by beaver. We got to write it on.
There is a guy, you can Google it on the internet, in Belarus. I think it's a country. I don't know geography, but it was in Belarus, and it actually bit his femoral artery, a 60-year-old fisherman, and he died. So there's one death that I know of.
There you go.
Beaver killed by a beaver. Holy shit. Jason, I don't know what else to say to you. I look forward to seeing you at the Christmas party. We're glad you're okay. Hopefully, no other happens to you before the party, and you'll make it there in one piece.
You can never predict with me. Anything can happen.
Thank you so much for giving us the beaver attack incident interview. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you soon, brother.
You're very welcome. I'll see you guys. Thanks for your thoughts and prayers and well wishes. And as I said, if you got a couple chuckles out of it, it's all right. So
it's cool. It's educational too, because hey, now I might be keeping my eyes open for a beaver. It's a little more serious than I thought it was.
Fishing today, and I'd be lying if I didn't say I kind of like looking around like I better not see no beaver swimming at me.
So your post is kind of funny, but it also actually does raise a little bit of awareness. Anyway, so
yeah, and it was a life-threatening serious situation. So yeah, I do appreciate the serious side as well. I mean, you have to recognize when you're in nature, there's no way to avoid all risks, but you definitely need to be careful, especially at night, because it was almost dark. That was my consideration, that maybe it just bumped me and didn't know what I was. It's a thought process about fishing in the dark. I mean, we really push ourselves. I know I do. I was up at the Lehigh River, and they told me like this is the most impossible place to wade, and I'm like, man, they've never been to parts of the Musconetcon. I said, because we'll walk anywhere for the fish. I'll climb on every rock. I'm surprised I haven't fallen and cracked my skull open or something. But it's a thing to think about. Like if it's a fish, maybe we should be a little bit more careful sometimes,
Chris? I hear you, man. Stay safe. And I was going to say, we'll try wading the Passaic, sink up to your neck in quicksand.
Well, he still caught 3 nice fish. So he did suffer for the fish by surviving a beaver attack while trout fishing, but he did still catch fish. So mission accomplished.
Yeah, I feel like I should get some special award for that.
Maybe. All right, we'll send him a shirt. We'll send a hoodie, a warm hoodie for winter. How's that?
Maybe a little extra armor in case something tries to bite you.
All right, Deuce. Get Jason's information and send him a warm hoodie, please. Suffer for the fish.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jason.
All right, bye-bye.
Later, man.
Well, when I started this podcast now on episode 80, I never thought that I'd be interviewing a beaver attack victim, so that was a first for me. But Jason's always a great sport about everything, and he is funny. It is a hilarious story. I know Jerry Zagorski's watching this right now, laughing his balls off. But
you gotta respect him making that post.
I mean, listen, it does like I said, it's funny, but it raises awareness. Like the guy, a lot of people on the video of my kids fighting salmon, they wrote comments that my kids have safety glasses on, and some of them took it to being a bad father without the glass. That's a little too much, but instead of taking it as like a troll, I actually thought about it for a minute. I said, shit, I've been hit in the face 1,000,000 times and cracked open with split shots. One of my kids get hit in the eye, they're going to be hurt. So those guys saying that shit, it's something to be taken. I mean, and this is the same case. I mean, who knows? You could be out there fishing, and the next thing you know, you got a 40-pound beaver clamped onto your leg. Uhas is... he's a big guy. I mean, I'm only 150 pounds, 5'3". This beaver probably would have eaten me whole. I'd be dead if it got me.
It definitely would have taken your leg like a branch.
Yeah, my leg
would have inserted your leg into its den as part of the wall.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was funny when he first came on. Now it seems more serious to me. Now I'm afraid of beavers, and I'm going to be watching out for them.
It is. Look, I mean, anytime I've run across a beaver, they're always annoying. They come in, they slap the water with their tail. They want you to leave. They want to try to intimidate you. And usually I'm in a boat or whatever, and I just ignore them. I don't know. I mean, I got to have respect for him, though. It sounded like even when the thing was biting him, he didn't want to harm it. He thought like, oh, it doesn't understand. Like it's just defending it, set it off of me and get away. It'll leave me alone. Unfortunately, the thing kept coming back. But like, if something bites me, dude, like my knife's already out and I'm stabbing it. I killed it already. Like I don't even give it the chance. Like I had a
probably
cat.
didn't want to kill it. Jason's also a pastor. He's not or a preacher. He's not a hunter. He probably really didn't want to kill it. But if you think about what those things eat, and they just gnaw through that hard wood all day, they have sharp teeth, those things. So I'm sure it actually did probably hurt.
Oh,
yeah. Probably clawed them up a few times. I think they have claws too, right?
I don't know, but those nastiest part. And
I don't think they could open the mouth They can't open the mouth really big.
Yeah, but you're talking about, it doesn't matter, right? Like it can't
like
bite your leg off, but this thing can chew through an entire tree little by little. Like those teeth are like little mini axes. Like, I mean, like I said,
it's crazy.
When I first saw it, I was like, how did he take all those wounds from a beaver? Like, why didn't you just kill it? Like, because he was, he is who he is. He didn't want to hurt it. He thought, it would leave him alone.
He said he whacked it twice good, and then it came back at him again. I mean, holy shit! How many times? What can you do? At certain point.
That's the difference. And that explains that, and that's the difference between like him and I. I was gonna say, I'm in my parents' backyard years ago, and this like stray cat starts coming at me doing like the hissing thing, like it's gonna attack you. You ever see a cat, like a stray cat, do that? Like it puts all its hair up and starts like doing that nasty hiss and starts like walking towards you. Dude, I punted that thing like a fucking football. I didn't even get like, you're gonna come over and bite. Like I didn't even think about it. Like it's coming at me aggressively. I punted it.
You're going to be murdered by animal rights activists. You just openly admitted to kicking a homeless cat across a
it was going to attack me.
You're going to fry for that. Deuce, clip that. Let me post it on the PETA websites, please. Moving on to the fishing report. I'm just going to do them all at once because this episode's been way too long already. The Gambler has switched gears off tuna fishing. They are jumping on the hot striper bite. The striper fishing can be insane right now if you could find it. He said the other day it was actually really tough for the boats, but the surf fishermen had a hell of a day. They were in just too tight for the boats. But the Gambler's now sailing daily for striped bass. Pastorino continues to hammer the stripers on his way in or out as he pleases. He also continues to post videos of crazy striper feeds. We posted a video today of a bluefin tuna fish caught in the inlet. Max Wilson supplied the video to us. That was pretty cool. Tuna fish in the inlet like that. So some pretty crazy shit going on saltwater. We're getting ready for tog season to just about take over. Yellow Dog
this weekend.
Yellow Dog Paddle, Mike Herman. Round Valley's down 5% on the water level. The fishing continues to be really good, especially for brown trout and lake trout. Mike is continuing to just pound the Lakers, pound the lake trout. Like I've said a million times, if you're looking to take kids fishing, this is a really easy out. All the kids have to do is basically reel the fish in when it's entertaining because the boat's always moving. I have 2 small kids, so it's just an easier do for kids. If you're looking to do a fishing trip, especially a trolling trip for salmonoids and trout, call Yellow Dog Paddle today. Also, Yellow Dog Paddle just donated a trip for 2 to the Christmas party we're going to raffle off as another prize, so thank you, Yellow Dog Paddle. That wasn't even a live read, so I'll just keep going. Mackin's Rippin' Lips fishing trips. Eddie Mackin still in the woods hunting hard. His brother Chris Mackin just shot a beautiful buck. Mackin continues to fish. He is on the walleye bite. He has the pontoon boat out during the day searching for chicken liver, striped bass. He's also catching a lot of white perch. Also a lot of nice catfish coming up. He's running trips off his boat still and the pontoon boats. I think Mackin's probably going to be getting ready to pull his boats in another month or so. He's looking to fish Lake Pelican your timeout for 2024 is run. You want to get out with him, call him immediately because I think he's going to be getting ready. If you are coming to the Christmas party, you'll get to meet Eddie Mackin. So call Mackin's Rip and Lips fishing trips today. NJFishing.com is coming up on 28 years as the #1 fishing resource in New Jersey for both freshwater and saltwater. The Christmas party is fully booked. The food is booked. Everything is set. We have sold 65 tickets already. They went on sale 6 days ago, and there are 65 tickets gone. We only have 35 tickets left. We are planning on a couple companies that are going to take entire tables. So just as last year, as we warned, we need a final November 10th, but most likely we're going to sell out long before that. There's nothing we can do either. Like you can't hide and say, hey, Joe, I need a favor. Look, we're strict, capped because of the fire code. If you want to come to the Christmas party, the guest list is on njfishing.com, along with the prize list that continues to grow. Tony Maja gave 2 outrodders. He's going to be at the party. Whoever wins those is going to get handed them by him, which is going to be awesome. Gambler just gave us 2 passes to Jerry Pastorino and Marie may be joining us at the party. It's just going to be awesome. Chuck Manny already bought a ticket. He's going.
We also, he was going to come last year, but he couldn't make it. There was an emergency. The other prize you forgot, advanced fishing custom rods. They donated a $500 gift certificate towards a custom rod. So I mean,
that's another good one. I'm sure there's still a lot more prizes going to come in, but guys, like we said last year, there was a lot of people mad at us because we didn't get them tickets. If you want to go, you have to get a ticket. Like, I don't even need the money right now. I just need your name on the list. That's all. I'll get money later. If you want to go, we got to get your name on the list because we're going to run out. It's a fire code thing and 100 people tops. So NJFishing.com, NJ Fishing, Merry Mayhem Christmas Party. If you want to go.
Let me just add real quick, too. Trying to reach out to everyone we know, so don't want to leave anyone out about, like, if they want to donate anything to the raffle pot. If you're hearing this or you know of someone who owns a business of any kind, really, it doesn't even have to be fishing related. If they want to donate something, anything, big or small, $20 gift card to the pizza place, whatever it is, get to the pot. We make this raffle as big as possible because we think the proceeds from the raffle, from the ticket sales. And last year it all went to Heroes on the Water. This year we're split and we're doing Heroes on the Water, and we're also going to give some to the Artificial Reef program. We're going to donate to that.
Which is cool. So, it's completely nonprofit. We don't make any money off it. All the money goes to charity. It's strictly just one event per year, the Christmas party. And it's a pain in the ass. It's a ton of work for us, all 3 of us, to do it. Everybody there and see the room full and see everyone win as many prizes. Check out njfishing.com. And if you're interested in coming to the Christmas party, please contact either me, Chris, or Jerry Zagorski as soon as you can. Okay, so we finally have our guest ready to come in. Toggy Time Jigs, been in business for about 5 years now. This is Eddie from Toggy Time, basically the best Blackfish jigs we've ever used, and now the only use. Eddie, welcome to the NJ Multi-Species Podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that compliment. I appreciate it.
Yeah, what's up? That your intro was better the first time before the Skype screwed up, Joe. I just gotta say.
Really?
Yeah, I thought so.
Whatever.
Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties.
Eddie, let's get right down to business. I've actually met you in person at the shows, but you keep mailing everything to Chris. I get nothing. Chris has all the stash. I have to ask him for one.
No problem, man. Just message me. Once you guys started, I just asked for the address, and that was it, man.
Ask him how many times he's blackfished without me.
Oh, he knows exactly what address to give too.
Yeah,
So, Eddie,
that's like my buddy Brian. That's all I know. I got to give him for Christmas, and he's happy. You know.
I mean, I love the little. It's like has like green speckles on
Yeah,
it.
that's what I got here. The glow Asian color. Yeah, that's one of my. Yeah.
That's my personal favorite. I don't know, Chris. You have a favorite one?
I think if I had to just pick just one, I think it would be that same one. I wish I had it. You don't have it in front of you by any chance, do you?
You're absolutely right. There you go, buddy.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's it.
And, I was gonna save this for a little bit later on, but since we're jumping right into it, I did want to talk about the Togg with Jigs color, because you hear it a lot that the color doesn't matter. A lot of guys don't even care, like their jigs, if they make their own or whatever. They just don't care. They say the color doesn't matter. And I got to be honest, I don't know for you, as you're the guy making them, and obviously there's, your jigs are gorgeous. They look awesome. Like, so as an angler, to sell them to an angler, you're looking at them, they look beautiful. And because they have that texture to them.
Right.
Like, you'll see jigs sometimes where it's just smooth, painted smooth. I don't like that. I like the texture. It's real. There's nothing
they're
in
like
nature.
Sand. It feels like sandpaper.
Yeah, those colors. So like the one that you like, the glow Asian, the ghost color. I have a couple other colors like Gold Muscle Bed, but it has the same base. It's like a sand epoxy that I mix in with it, and then that gives it that like crab-like texture to it. So it's they're pretty cool.
It's like very appealing to the angler. Like, I don't know if the fish cares or not, but to the angler, it makes a difference. It's more natural. It doesn't look like
So what I got to say about that is I hear both 10 arguments this way. So why I know color makes a difference, and this is my example, because when I go out, I always have a conventional reel. I probably have the same line on it for 5 years, but I bring it just for that, just in case thing. But I'm always jigging, man. I always have 2 or 3 setups with me. And the only thing that's different, so like, let's just say for this, you're on a boat, you anchor up on a spot, boom, you peg 3 or 4 fish right away. Keep or small, doesn't matter. You're in the same hole, obviously new crab every time. You drop it down after that 4th fish, you don't get a scratch. Most guys would be like, okay, well, that's all the fish in that hole. What I do, as soon as that happens, I bring it up. I have another color jig, same size, just a different color. I drop it down. 9 out of 10 times I will get absolutely slammed. So what changed? The color of the jig. So that's trust me, for what I do and how many of these different colors, if it just 1 or 2 colors work, I would be very happy with that. But for that reason alone, the color makes a difference 9 out of 10 times.
Oh shit.
That's interesting. I mean, I'm trying to think if I've ever, sometimes I have 2 rods set up with 2 jigs.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I did this just recently up in Rhode Island, but I feel like I just happened to have both the same color tied on.
Mm-hmm.
Just that favorite color that we said, the black with the green on. But yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's hard to argue with. I mean, and if you want to say what the color doesn't matter, you still have to kind of admit engine color mattered.
Yeah, I do a lot. So like I always have the glow white legger color. That was like one of my original, same thing like this one. That will always be on my rod no matter what, because sometimes depending on the current, if there was a storm, that water gets a little bit dirty. They want to see that jig, and I'll always have that glow white on. Because you never know what's until you go out there and see what the conditions are. But most of the time, I like to fish the darker ones. So like the glow Asian, the ghost. I always like starting darker colors. And I kind of go from there, but I always have different colors tied on.
And sorry, Chris. Do you always want to, when it comes to the weight? I know you have a lot of different weights, but from my understanding, you always want to try to use the lightest possible you could get away with.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm always a 1 ounce, 1.5, 2 guy. I never, even though I make 3 ounces, I never go up past 2. I personally just don't like the feel of it. I don't like that hard thud, but I always just try to make sure you're on the bottom. Once that line goes slack, you're good. That's where I keep it there. But I mean, a lot of guys want to have that hard thud, like the old school, like sinker. I mean, to each their own. But I mean, there's other guys too that you'll have a heavy current, they're still throwing a half inch all the way up. It's where whatever they're fishing. I mean, I know, come come January, late December, that's when a lot of like the 2 ounce and 3 ounces are sold, because these guys are fishing offshore in that heavy current, and those 100-foot wrecks in South Jersey and stuff, and they like it, So,
Yeah.
but I always stick with 2, and I kind of adjust from there, whether I got to cast up or cast back, and you kind of go from there. But I like the feel of 1.5 or 2. That's my just personal opinion.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. Well, let me just double back to the color real quick before we move on. So I want to say this about the colors, because I want to know if I'm crazy or not. So to me, I got my Blackfish jigs, right? And I got different colors, but to me, even though I probably have a dozen different colors, there's really only 3 color categories to me.
Okay.
And I want to know if this is just me. If I'm nuts, Joe can chime in. Whatever. So my 3 categories for tide, you got a color that's going to blend in with whatever you're fishing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or what you're hoping will blend in with your fishing, kind of make like camouflage the jig, almost make it as invisible as possible. So just the crab sticking up there with the jig. That's 1. And then 2 is a jig color that matches the type of crab that you're using, to make it look like, even though you're just using a little piece of crab, now it looks like the crab's twice the size, because the jig almost looks like part of the crab.
Yes.
And then the 3rd would be just some kind of bright, vibrant color, bright colors, whatever, to make it stand out, just to make it look different or weird, just for those days where that's what they want.
So when I started, my whole thing was, when I started in 2000, the Blackfish season of 2019, I started my business in 2020. But when I started, my whole thing from the beginning was the guys that were out there, and again, they got to feed their families. I don't talk bad about anybody, but the jigs alone, like they to me, they never matched anything that you're fishing, either the structure or the diet. So my whole thing was to match the hatch. So that was my first thing. I mean, I started with a $40 do it mold and some mustad hooks I got out of the local tackle shop, and I started from there. But that, to me, even though the design of the jig changed and obviously the hook changed for the better, it was always the colors that for me was, matching the bottom, matching the structure. That was number 1 for me. And then sometimes, like I said, matching wound up being like the green crab color, or like I said, some days you're fishing in January, 100 feet, that glow color, that's so dark down there, they just jump right on it. So, but yeah, definitely, that's the whole thing that I like to do.
Now, can I just ask? Oh God, when you start this business now, you're going to start making jigs. Why just Blackfish jigs? Like, because we're waiting for some freshwater jigs from you, and for you to start making other jigs.
So you know what it was, man, is I'll be honest with you, and I try to be humble about it. I mean, me and my buddy Brian, like I said, I was making these in the season of 2019. Had no interest. Pretty much everything that was out there at the time, you're paying top dollar for these jigs that are, the paint is hanging off of them, or cake color, the caked eyes, or you're getting these jigs out, and the weight is spinning on the hook. You're like, what the hell am I paying for, man? So I mean, it is what it is. But I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, and you're paying all this money for it. So that's like that. So that's like pretty much like what I started with them, and yeah, like I said, man, it just kind of took off. To then I hooked up with a guy that makes my hooks, and then the colors came, and it just you expand and expand and expand. So now I'm at a point where, I mean, I have a full, like I said, I'm going into work tonight. I got a full-time job, so I don't do this full-time, but this time of year for 3 months straight, it's another full-time job. So I start melting lead in February to get ready for the next year, because it just seems that every year more and more shops are adding on, and the online is taking off. And my biggest thing is, it's probably from a salesman point or a business point, it's bad, but I don't, that's why I'm not knocking on because, when somebody calls me, I want to be able to get their jigs order, out in a couple days time frame. An online order goes out the next day, but I don't want somebody calling for me, because the last thing I want, I mean, people might think that I might have the best jigs in the world, but if the customer service isn't there, the jigs are crap. To me, that's where I'm keeping. But to answer your question, it's not out of the question, because the guys are asking me for fluke stuff. I'm busy enough with this right now that maybe when I retire, I'll reconvene with that one. But yeah.
just out of curiosity, because you mentioned the melting lead. People in New York order You're them to them or no?
The jigs, yeah. I mean, I ship. I use a U.S. Priority, so wherever it goes, I shipped all the way. I had orders from New Hampshire all the way down to Virginia already this year. So yeah, whatever they want, doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
But they're allowed to use lead in the salt water out of New York, right?
I guess, yeah.
They're just not.
I got
allowed
a bunch
to
of
buy
guys
it.
ordering from New York, so hopefully, man, I don't know.
The reason he asked, if you didn't freshwater fish in the rivers in New York, you have no idea why Joe's asking you this question.
No, I haven't. No.
I'm sorry. The reason I ask is because in the state of New York, you can't buy lead. It's illegal to buy it.
Really?
So,
for the split shots, you're not allowed to buy the split shots of lead like to fish Salmon River, right? But if I bring my own lead up there,
yes.
I guess they don't stop you. It's not against the rules.
You're allowed to use it. You're just not allowed to purchase it. That's why I was curious.
Well, so like none of the tackle shops up there, they have split shots or anything, or is it just made?
They have they're all tin and
wow.
Yeah.
Like I say, learn something new every day. I never heard of that. Wow.
I thought you'd look confused when he asked. You'd never freshwater fished up.
I'm like, yeah, no, that's no issue. But yeah.
No, what the hell are you talking about, Joe? Yeah, I don't. You thought you were asking him if you like boycott New York for some reason.
Yeah.
I know there's a couple states in the U.S. where you can't buy lead, so I was just curious. Like if you went on the website, try to order lead jigs, would it send them to you? That's all. That's my main question.
Yeah, I guess not a problem. So basically, you started this company because you wanted to make a better product for yourself. I mean, I feel like that's how most good companies start, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was it. Like I said, when you're looking at these jigs and you buy a pack of 4 and you got to sacrifice one jig for the hook on the jig to get the eye open so you could put the line in. I'm like, what the hell are you paying for? You know what I mean? And you know what it is? They're still out there. So, but people sell them.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just like, there's got to be somebody out there that makes a better quality product for the same price or cheaper. There wasn't. So I said, all right, F it. I'll start making it myself. And then, like I said, when I'm on the boats and limited out and catching bigger fish, and guys are like, hey, how much are you? Can I, brain just started going from there, and then it's funny. I go from like buying like I said, the do it mold to buying 25 hooks, and that lasted me all year. To now I'm buying 25,000 hooks, and it's lasting me 2 months, man. It's like a little different strategy there, So
yeah, I hear you. I probably gave more of your jigs out in Rhode Island on my last trip than I've let Joe use. No, because it's the same thing, dude. I mean, like, look, I have no skin in the game. It's your company, but so I'm just saying, I'm sitting there using these jigs. I think they're great. All right. And I'm catching fish. I mean, the rest of the boat wasn't doing well. It wasn't a great day, but I'm catching fish. I'm catching keepers. I walked to the back of the boat to get crabs, and 2 of the guys are like, bro, what are you doing up there? Like, can you help it? Like, we're not. I'm like, you guys aren't catching anything back here? Like, nah, a couple of shorts. I'm like, all right, hold on. So I come back. They probably thought I was just blowing them off. I come back and I go, here. What are you using, bait rig or? It's like, nah, we tried both. Nothing's working. They had some generic giant football head jig. Looked like an oversized freshwater lure. I'm like, all right, man. I know guys say I even heard the mate telling people no, jig don't matter. Jig just anything. Don't even need color. Don't need color. It doesn't matter. Here, use this. Well, because they're not going to give them good stuff for free. Yeah. So I'm like, here, I got a bunch of these packs. This guy, Toggy time jigs. I got a couple extra. Here. Like, oh, for real that they're trying to pay me. I'm like, no, just go ahead, just use. I didn't know. All I knew they weren't that good.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I gave it to them. I came back. I don't know how you feel about scent on the jigs, but it's working.
I never tried that. No, I never tried that.
Dude, we got Steve from Signal 11 and Lip Glue. He had given me this crawfish scent, and I had it in there, and I'm like, there's a crab on there. What do I tried, dude. It had to be doing something because I mean, even if it wasn't, then it did enough in my head to make me keep doing it.
Yeah, I gotta try it, man. I never.
Didn't you? You won the pool.
Yeah, I won, dude. I mean, look, I'm not blowing my own horn here, but I was catching fish. Most guys weren't. I won the pool, whatever. So I give these guys a jig. I put a little squirt of lip glue on it. I'm like, that, give it a try. Like, I don't know. I was gonna. Maybe 20 minutes later, 25 minutes later, the guy starts yelling from the back. He's got a fish there, and I couldn't tell if it was a keeper. It wasn't huge, but it was like,
He
he's
got
like,
something.
bro, thank you. I'm like, is it a keeper? He's like, I don't know. Guy went and measured
Just
it.
happy you got one.
It was a keeper. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, but you know what it is too. Like a lot of guys like that, it's all the tackle, man. Like I could sell the jigs till I'm blue in the face. I'm like, if you're having some 9-foot surf rod or with a Penn 8,000 reel, there's only so much I can help you. You know what I mean? Like you got these guys, they just have no idea. They still try to do their old, the old traditional, 4.0 Senator reel with some broomstick and think that they're going to feel a 1.5 ounce jig. Like, it's, I try to tell these guys the lighter the stuff, but they don't, it's some of the guys are just hard headed, they don't want to try it or they can't get used to it. And they're getting used to part I get, you know what I mean? Trying to tell somebody go down to 20-pound braid and 40-pound fluoro, they look at you cross-eyed, but that's how you catch them, so at least for us. So
I
went to like probably, I'm going to say 95% of the time I fish pound braid, 40-pound fluoro. I use the leader to length of the rod. I like 7-8 foot tops because I like to get those big fish out. But one of the biggest things that we fish is we like to fish in a assist hook. So the one way that most of us do it, but I kind of got away with this, and I'll tell you why. So obviously the jig. So how we like to do it is if this is coming from the tip top, your little 3.0, 4.0, run it right through. So this is sitting up, and then you tie it. So that's, if you sit like that, so obviously half a crab here, half a crab here, it's about 50-50, the hookups on this to the assist. The only issue with this is that what we ran into is if you get a piggy on this line is stretching. So if you have any nick in the line, if you have any burr in this hook, you're going to pop this line, or you got to make sure that you have a 100% tight knot, because otherwise, if you could see, all that weight of that fish is going down on that knot. So that's I guess you want to say two negatives. The other negative with this is that if you're fishing a heavy current and you cast, a lot of times this late winter, you get those dogfish coming in with the current bringing this up. So the way that I did it, and I see guys starting to use it now. So picture again here, go from this is the bottom, tie a dropper loop, traditional dropper loop. And what I do is at the end of that loop, I go about 2 fingers and I snell a hook. And that's how it sits. So now that's how it's going to sit, just like that. So now it's almost like a snafu type, but one with a jig and one with this, and the same thing, the half and a half. So now if you get a bigger fish on that, now it's its own knot, and you could pull on that thing all day and you'll be fine. So we had a lot of success fishing like that the past year. So
now that might be the solution I was looking for. Is I've been using that first setup that you showed.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much that's a slider rig, isn't it? It's just a slider rig.
You can do it. So picture that. Picture like you do a Belmar rig. Picture if the jig was there, pretty much like a Belmar rig. The only thing with this is, like I said, a lot of times if it's a hard current, this will slide up on you. So almost sometimes, like when you reel it up, this will be 10 feet above. Yeah. And, a lot of times in the wintertime, so that means that like on the bottom, this will be riding up and you'll get like a lot of dogfish.
See, we do that, but we put a bobber stopper on the line so the hook can't slide up.
Okay, yeah, that's another way to do it too. Yeah,
we've solved that problem. I'll even sometimes, if I'm too lazy to slide the bobber stop on there and use the, slide it off the little tube and tighten it, I'll just take a little piece of twist tie from like bread bags,
right?
Just a little piece and just pinch it on from going up. Works perfectly fine. The fish don't care. It's just this little piece of thing. But the other that hook, when you hook a big fish on the assist hook, I'll put a bead there, but that bead breaks a lot of the times, and even with the bead there, it's still putting the pressure on that knot. I like that, and it puts a lot of pressure there. I don't think I've ever broken off a fish like that yet, but it does make me nervous. So
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, like if we're heading out, like if you're tying it the night before, like if I put like a little drop of super glue on that line, and it won't be a problem. But if you're retying and you're out on the water, you're not going to have time for super glue to dry, and wait. Oh, I got to wait 10 minutes, guys. Like,
yeah,
so
nah.
that's it's like the same thing. If guys that want to tie that FG knot or whatever, it takes 10 minutes, but they break it out on the water, then they're tying whatever. It's the same type of same equivalent. So.
Yeah, that other way looks. I'll have to try that for sure. It's not. Is it?
So pretty much just a straight dropper loop. So you tie the dropper loop, 2 fingers up. You start. I like to snell it, and like I said, just the way that is, that length, that's pretty much how it sits. So you got 2 and 2, and like I said, it's all by itself, and it's guaranteed that this is on the bottom with the jig. But I'll be honest with you, within like the first half hour of a trip, if I see guys working on bites for a couple minutes and they're just like kind of nipping at it, like, all right, they're finicky that day. But there's days where you'll have a 16, 17-inch fish swallow a 2-ounce jig. I'm like, you don't need an assist hook that day. Those fish are hungry and they're not shy and they'll go after it. And then I get rid of the assist hook, because you don't need it. So.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is, especially with that second rig you had, it's got to be a little bit more snaggy than even the Sun. And obviously, both of them are a lot more snaggy than just the jig by itself. And sometimes it may not matter. Like up in Rhode Island, you're not fishing as snaggy structure as Jersey. But if you're in some really snaggy stuff, that extra hook does get caught a lot, at least.
Oh yeah, and like I said, you gotta go. They could go with the bait. I mean, if you're dropping it down and you feel a piece and the jig's still going down 20 feet, I wouldn't fish 2 hooks. You're lucky if you get 1 hook out of there. But.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, Eddie, where would you, for people watching this, where is for them to get?
Well, I mean, you can. So I always, like I said, guys, with the tackle shops, I always support the tackle shops, but I try to keep it like 1 per town or a certain area. So, like I always say, if you're in Belmar Fisherman's Den, you're in Brick, go to Gabriel, Frank, you know what I mean? If there's all, down a little bit further south, go to Mike at Grizz's. You know what I mean? Like I try to do that, but also depending on the shop, they don't want to order 6 at a time, 10 at a time if there's a specific size or color. So, then they order from my website. You know what I mean? So, because guys, like I said, guys are all over the place. I'm not at any shop I am in the shop in New York, but I'm not nothing in Rhode Island, New Hampshire. So, guys can go right on my website, toggytimejigs.com. You order from there. It's free shipping over $50. But like I said, if you're near, tackle shop, if they're not there, ask about them or DM me and I can contact them and we can go from there. I appreciate anything. So.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone's listening, definitely follow Toggy Time Jigs on. You got Instagram for sure, obviously.
Instagram, yeah. I don't have Facebook, but Instagram, yeah.
All right, and because I know you post on there like when you stock up for a shop or whatever. So not that there's a list on. Maybe you should put a list on there with the shop.
I probably should. I normally when I post, I always add the location of the tackle shop. So if anybody's watching, they can see where it is. But I'll probably do that sometime. That's a good idea on my website as to like where you could find them too. But like I said, it's all in the shop. There's some guys that, they got 4 shelves that are empty of a certain color. I'm like, why didn't you call me? They're like, oh, well, we didn't want to, too small of an order. I'm like, I don't care, man. Like if you got a certain size or color selling, call me, but you're just shooting yourself in the foot. But I'm like, it's your business, man. You buy the jigs from me, you staple them to your forehead, you own them, they're yours. So, do whatever you want.
Guys are used to, a lot of guys in the fishing business, whatever it may be, are kind of salty and they're probably used to dealing with people like that. So when you come in and you're like pleasant and make them by surprise.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, man. I see you meet some unique people in this business, man. It's laughable, So
someone at the Mayhem Christmas party is going to have a shot to win $100 worth of Toggy Time Jigs unless we're spreading out. But there's going to be a lot.
I think it's going to into a couple of prize packs, right?
So there's going to be a lot of Toggy Time Jigs at the Christmas party. That
nice, man. Yeah, that's great.
And we really appreciate that, too. Thank you for that.
Oh, no problem, man. I appreciate it, man. Like I said, one thing with this, man, especially like with the shops, like, like I said, if I was doing this full-time, man, I'll be honest with you. From every shop from Maine to Virginia, I'd be knocking on every door trying to sell whatever. But to me right now, man, yeah, I make some scrap and it pays for a couple charters throughout the year. And, it's some Christmas presents and I'm good, man. It's all about the relationships. I don't screw anybody. Nobody screws me. If I do, all right. I mean, I'd rather have a good relationship with people and meet people. And, that to me is more important. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
well,
man.
we really want to thank you for taking the time out of your night for coming on the podcast. We know you have to.
Yeah, I appreciate. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. I was smelling lead all day to fill up Grace's order, and now it's like, oh, now I got to do that other thing. Yeah, I forgot.
And we've been trying to get you on here for a long time too. It's been a pain in the ass to get you on.
I know. I'm finally able to make it, man. Then I said, I said, what? Your camera froze. I said, that sounds about right. With my luck.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's actually, you could ask Chris. This is episode number first time I've ever. Right, Chris?
You know what? I completely believe that. I believe.
Well, there was the one time where what happened? You were sick and you fell asleep and just never showed up, and I had
that happened. That happened.
That happened. Yeah.
Eddie, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully, we'll get out to fish with you eventually. That'd be awesome.
I know, man.
I'm sure you're going to be at all the shows coming up soon. So
I'm gonna try, man. I'm gonna just once because I've been, like I said, man, I've been so crazy this time of year. Probably like in another month, it'll die down a little bit, and I'll start seeing what I want to do for next year. But man, guys, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Before you go, I made myself a Toggy Time Jigs hat because I don't have one, but.
I like that. I got one on, man. I got to get you guys.
Yeah, I gotta try to see if Katie can sew this sticker onto here, so I don't have to use the tape.
I'll give you my address. You can send the hats to me.
That sounds good, buddy. Yeah, DM me after this on Instagram. I got you.
Eddie, thank you so much, man.
All right, guys, be good, man. Have a good night. Thank you.
You too, man.
All right, man. Be good.
So yeah, most people watching the podcast, you Chris usually don't bullshit, and we don't use stuff that we don't. Yeah, I'm enjoying jigging. So,
I mean, look.
But I feel like there's just so many more days where the 2-ounce jig just ain't gonna hold the bottom, and you have to have the rig. Like in this time of year, the weather's shitty. I mean, how many days you really get when you can really hold bottom good with a 2-ounce? I mean, I always think I'm like using my rig with an 8-ounce weight on it.
I mean, look, I'm kind of the opposite of you, right? Like you learn to blackfish with the bait rig, with heavier stuff. When I started blackfishing, I was shown that same way, but within that first season, the second I found out that it could be done with a jig on lighter gear, I was like, oh hell yeah, I gotta try that. And I really never looked back. But like
I'm new to it. But I'm still not confident in it. I'm not confident in it on the Giant, but yet, I see like Michael Kim from Jigging World pull up a 22-pound fish on a jig, and Tim Keebler, I think, had it. Well, he had something over 20. Didn't he have like a 24 or 23?
I mean, I don't remember what he said.
Well, he had a jig set up too. Monsters on him.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously if you've got lighter line, no matter what the fish size is, if that fish rubs that line on that sharp structure, the line's going to break. If it's a little bit heavier, you may be able to take a couple more whacks on it, obviously. But, I mean, look, I have that same nervousness, right? I'm going to hook a monster, and it's good. The lighter line's going to break, right? I don't have it. There's no thought in my head about like the jig he uses. I don't know what they are. I forgot to ask him. I don't know. I mean, you can't bend them. I've snagged and pulled and pulled and pulled. You have to break the line. You'll never bend that hook.
Those jigs are not coming out. But you also have you bumped up to 30. I'm still 20. I have 20 pound on the braid.
Braid wouldn't make me as nervous as 20 on the leader.
No, I won't. 40 on the leader.
Okay, I'll use 30 on the leader sometimes, but yeah, 40 is probably a better. See, here's the thing: like fly fishing, right? If you tie a loop knot to your lure, fly, jig, whatever, you're obviously going to get a better natural action off of it. And not that you want the Blackfish jig to have action per se, but you want it to be as natural as possible. And if you tie directly to that jig, anytime the boat moves, and real careful about keeping a little bit of slack in your line, or someone talks to you and you turn or whatever, you're going to jerk that jig around, whatever. If you got that loop knot, it gives you a little bit of a leeway, right? Because you got
That's
the loop.
That's a super underutilized knot. And I might be wrong too, but I think like even the Rapala knot, the actual knot for Rapala and lures, is almost like a loop knot. Like it leaves a gap in between. It doesn't, but percent of the fishing world, when they tie a knot, they cinch down on that lure. It's not the way it's supposed to be. I think even with hooks, you're supposed to leave a circle hook swinging on a loop knot. It shouldn't be fixed. But mistake, I think 90% of the fishing world, they cinch the knot down tight. Would you disagree with that, or?
I don't know if I'd call it a mistake. I mean, if it works for someone, it works for them.
No, I do.
Know.
I do it. I don't use a loop knot. I cinch everything down. I do it completely wrong. It's just how I've done it my whole life.
Is it out of laziness, or you just?
I don't know how to tie a loop knot.
Oh, dude, here's the thing, and like I'm sure there's a dozen different loop knots or more. The simplest one that gives you the same break as a regular cinch knot. Is it cinch knot or clinch knot? I don't even know.
Clinch.
That basic knot, right, where you wrap it 6, 7, 8 times, depending on the side of the line, and you pass it through twice, and you cinch it down, right? It's that same knot. You just, before you tie it, you put an overhand loop in the line, and then you put it through, and then you use that overhand loop hole as like you would use the hole of a hook or a lure, and you just do a cinch knot, and it cinches onto that stop in the line where you made that loop.
We have to see if we can get a video of the Blackfish jigging rig that Chris uses and kills him on, if he's willing to share it, because...
Well, it's basically like what Eddie showed, but then he showed the other one, which I'm going to try, because the only disadvantage to that one is it might be a little bit more...
It looks snaggy.
Yeah, it obviously looks a little bit snaggier, but it looks a lot safer for hooking a big fish, to be honest.
I really like that other hook to slide, though, for some reason. Even on my rig, I usually always have the slider rig on. I love that.
Yeah, me too. But you're still going to get a natural motion out of that second one he showed. It's just by natural motion, I'm just like, you got currents down there, a little bit of current, a little bit of flow in the water.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the guy that created the jig, and he's showing me the way he uses it, that's obviously the exact way I'd use it. It just definitely looks snaggy, and he probably wants us to get snagged, so we have to buy more jigs. I don't good business strategy. So he tied a snaggier rig to make more money. It's genius.
But that's if the gets snagged, I don't think the jig will break off. The snag hook.
The snag will. It's like exactly. It's like a snag. It looks exactly like a snafu rig if it was on a rig rod. It's just a jigging snafu. You're gonna see, as this jigging shit gets more popular, you're gonna just see more and more stuff like this. That's gonna be.
It's just if you can get away with it, I mean, whatever, you do what you want. But if I could get away with it, I'm always trying to jig first.
Yeah, but you're also doing it on, and doing it on a spinning rod to me sucks. I hate using a spinning rod, which is why
I abandoned this for even the Togg jig, because I just felt like on a bigger fish you had no leverage on the reel, right? So if you're using a bait caster, I never really saw a disadvantage to it. But you had the advantage of being able to have a little bit of winching power,
There's just something in my head that if that giant hooks the line, I just want to have. I don't know why, but I'd rather do battle on the rig. I feel more confident with it. But hey, if it happened, it'd be cool too. But I'm probably gonna get sliced off and feel my heart break in halfway up.
You're definitely at an advantage fighting a bigger blackfish on the rig.
I think it depends on the like. I feel like Jerry Pastorino when you drop a jig down, like he's kind of like he's giving you like the stink eye. Like, what are you doing with that?
Well,
Like, but he's kind of opening a little bit.
I will tell you, I've been on a couple of TOG charters, and some believe, and maybe it's true, I don't know. They don't want you dropping. They don't want anyone dropping a jig down first. So if it's like a 6-pack, like if it's a party boat, nobody's going to stop you. Like if it's a 6-pack charter, like the captains have their own strategies and whatever. And I've been on a boat before where the guy said, absolutely no jigs get dropped in it. And I don't remember the exact explanation of it, but it has something to do with fish will start gravitating towards the jig, and then the bait rigs won't work at all, and it'll be a complete jig bite, which I don't know if I buy that, because I've fished on party boats too, where both are catching, or the bait rig's catching, the jig's not catching, the jig's catch. I don't know how much I believe it, but if you're on a 6-pack charter, you're going to listen to the captain, or you're going to have a terrible fucking day.
I remember
whether they're right or wrong. You got to listen to the captain, at least for the most part, to some extent, at least until you can prove yourself worthy.
Well, next week.
So next episode, there's another guy that we tried to get on a different time around this time last year, same as Eddie from Toggy Time. Just didn't work out. Had to try again this year. We got Paul Eidman, or Eidman.
Is that Menhaden Defenders?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been waiting. That's awesome. I want to talk to him.
Yeah, so anyone who doesn't live under a rock, that saltwater fishes especially,
it's so weird you're saying that. I had a phone call from a guy, the fishing.com, looking to buy his ticket for the Christmas party, and he started talking about the lack bait that he was seeing. Any chance you guys could get someone? Like, this was just this morning this happened. So yeah, that's next week. That'll be really cool. So we will be with Menhaden. See everyone in a week.
Keep on suffering for those fish.
Okay, so we have our weekly deer hunting report that we're trying to do from Signal 11. It's at the end of every episode, so if you can just want hunting, you can fast forward right to the end to find this. Steve Cassiello, owner of Signal 11, is here again. It is November 11th. Steve, where do we stand today in the rut?
How's it going, guys? Where we stand today, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
You're all good.
Good.
Yep.
Good. Okay. Well, big changes from the last time we spoke, and this time. A lot of chasing has happened up here in North Jersey, and to me, it seems like, because I've been out, I've been trying to get out a portion of every day, whether it's morning, afternoon, or midday. And what I've noticed is it seems like they're probably locked down at this time. So the initial chasing that I was some of the bigger bucks. The small bucks have been around the whole time doing whatever they can to try to get a piece, if you want to call it that. But now it seems like the bigger ones, they fell off camera, and I'm not seeing them. And the smaller ones seem to still be very mobile. So I would venture to say that the first of the does has probably been bred already. Again, we're talking on Monday. This won't come out till Friday. But probably locked down with some of the second doe that they're trying to breed. But what's going to happen now is they're going to start breaking away after a couple days and looking for the next one. So I think they typically breed like 3 to 5 doe, is what the biologists say. So I think that's where we're at now. The early sign, all the scrapes and stuff has kind of fizzled. I noticed today I had 2 bucks, both younger. But both bucks I saw today didn't bother with scrapes. They were just trying to move about the woods, and they're looking for the does and keeping their eyes out for the bigger bucks. That's the phase we're in. I think we're kind of starting to lock down, which means still got to be in the woods, because they're going to be going from one doe to the next. And I think that's where we're at now. All that early action is kind of slowed drastically, in my opinion.
Can I ask you a question? So So Joe and we planned to hunt at least twice. We only got out there once. I think Joe's wife tried to food poison him or something. He was sick the one day. We weren't able to get out, but we did get out there once. And this is at a spot that we had been seeing some pretty good buck action, right, Joe? I mean, I would say at least.
Yeah, decent.
And we sat there and like there was not a sign of any deer anywhere until the very end. Two does up being does came towards the end. But I don't know. I guess my question is like because it'd been so warm and me and Joe were talking like Joe's Joe's been hunting a lot longer than me obviously, and he said he's never had good buck action in the stand unless he was cold as hell. And this has got to be one of the warmest late falls we've ever had that I can remember at least. And I just keep wondering, like, is there any chance that's what's kind of either resetting their instincts or something? Because I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know. I'm really asking, just as a basic with a basic knowledge of biology, say, if let's say if a buck mates with a doe too early in the season and that deer, that fawn is born in the dead of winter, that fawn's going to probably die, right? So their instincts, is there anything that would trigger them to be like, oh, it's so warm, like the instincts don't kick in to mate, or is it more of a like a
Well,
time-based thing with like the sun and moon?
it's the weather. They're gonna go into heat basically the same time every year. It has nothing to do with the temperature. A lot of guys will argue the moon back and forth, but it all comes down to daylight. As the days shorten, they go in a rut basically the same time every year. So they're not. And the thing about early births or late births and the depths of that's part of Mother Nature, and that's what kind of gets the breeding as close as to the correct time as possible. But what you hit on is the temperature. When it's warm out, the bucks aren't going to be as active during the warm weather. It's just they got their winter coats on. It's difficult, and they can breed at night. Obviously, I think I sent the picture to you guys last week. They're going to breed at night because it's cooler. They're not going to stop breeding but if it drops 20 degrees at night, they'll breed at night and they'll chase at night. However, on the 2 days that I actually watched full out chases that I could see them, and I heard one or two other ones, they were relatively warm, probably a little, definitely warmer than normal, but probably a little cooler as we've been hitting lately. The temperature makes a huge difference with the activity you're going to see during the daylight hours or the hunting hours. So that's a huge one. And again, you got to be in the woods. My opinion is if it's 80 out and you're off, you got to be in the woods. I mean, you got to be in the woods as much as you can right now. But obviously, if we get a temperature drop or if we go from a windy day to a calmer day or rain stops, that's when you're going to see a lot of movement, regardless of the temperature. The temperature is one of them, but even on a warm day, if it's raining out, a lot of times as soon as that rains, they're on their feet. But we're hoping for some cold mornings right now. I'd rather hunt the afternoons myself, but
Me
if
too.
it's only cold in the morning, that's when I got to go. Today I was out in the morning. I had one probably 30 minutes after legal light, and a decent buck came by probably an hour, and I let him pass. They're not what I'm after right now. And again, the other thing, Chris, you hit on sign. Most of the really good deer sign is done by mature deer. The more mature the deer are, the more sign they lay down. So once those mature deer start actively breeding does, the sign just drops off dramatically. The smaller bucks will play around with the scrapes and stuff, but it's really the bigger bucks. You see good rubs on trees in the hardwoods on a decent sized tree. That's a good sized buck, or I should say a mature buck. That's where you're getting most of your sign laid down. So the sign is kind of over right now. The rubs and the scrapes is going to be limited because these bucks are literally with a doe, then they're going to another one, then another one, and then before you know it, they're out of their first cycle. And then you gotta then you may see them hit the feed a little more, until they come back in 28 days from the beginning.
Well, so I want to ask one question because it was something that like I've never experienced. The other day when we went hunting, New Jersey's currently filled with forest fires. So it stinks like fire in a lot of these areas with the deer when they're just trying to smell and they smell forest.
Well, the interesting thing is, I think, is there's one out there that actually makes a smoke cover scent, and there's a whole bunch of people that actually smoke their clothes. Now, the difference is deer are used to the smell of something burning or used to fire pits. Depending in New Jersey, we're not in the massive woods, so it's a little different than what we have now. I mean, I only had one day where I could actually smell the smoke at all. But basically, again, it's no different than a hot day where the breeding may take place, cools down. If the smoke is too much and they don't feel safe, they're still going to breed, but they might not leave their core area. If they got does there, that's where they're going to stay. But I think when they're done with that doe or all the does in that area, they're going to move. They're probably going to be a lot more cautious. It's a great cover scent for everybody. I don't think it's going to completely stop them. They're going to breed. They're going to breed regardless, no matter what. They have to.
And now you're also all these sections now that have these giant fires. Obviously, the deer are going to relocate out of those areas into new ones.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be heard anything or seen anything where I know when we had floods and stuff, I mean, I remember, Waynewood flood and if you got through on 80, you'd see all the deer, in the mall parking lot or whatever. I haven't really heard any of that, but I know during Sandy, it destroyed everything for us. It destroyed everything during the rut. So yeah, the deer are going somewhere. I'm not exactly sure what that looks like. Their situation's pretty bad, but
yeah.
Steve, I mean, we really appreciate you doing this. I don't know about anyone else, but like, obviously I fish a lot too. I fish a lot more than I hunt. I fished one of the days instead of hunting. Like, I can't be in the woods every day because I go fishing times. So I really appreciate, for the guys who like to hunt but aren't out there every day, someone like you who doesn't fish as much this time of the year, hunts instead, to share and make it a little bit easier for the guys who hunt but not out there as much.
And you know what? I just want to add real quick, a good point. If you have an hour or 2 hours or a little bit of time to hunt in an afternoon or whatever, right now the rut is called a great equalizer. You can kill a good deer from pretty much any tree in the woods. You just got to be lucky enough to be in the right tree. But my point is, as long as you're going out there, I would even get out for an hour. I mean, you could literally walk in the woods with the crunchy leaves, sit on a rock with a pad or get in your stand, and literally 5 minutes later, something could run by you. Because I know I've hunted when I was stalking and trying to get to my spot quietly and have had bucks run right at me, stop, and I've shot them and scored them, or they run right by you because they're going, get in the woods. You got about another week and a half, 2 weeks at the most. Get in the woods for these next, even if it's an hour, if that's all you got.
Oh, all right. Hey, that's good advice too, because you kind of, I mean, at least like we feel like we got to get there early. You got to be up in the tree stand waiting. We got to be quiet for a certain amount of time before we even have a chance of something coming by. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we should give that a try. You got to get out there more.
Hopefully we'll be back next week and someone here will have filled a buck tag. Like Chris said, we really appreciate you doing this. And good luck on this week of hunting.
Yep.
And I think
we lost him, but at least it was at the end after he said everything that he wanted to say.
Yeah. All right. So, Steve, good night. Goodbye. Good night. See you everyone next week. We will be back.